When designing a project, whether it's commercial or residential, one of the first things you need to know is what you're going to be building and where. So one of the first things you want to know is what the program requirement, which is sort of the client's wish list, is for the project. In this case, it being residential, we would want to know the number of bedrooms, the number of bathrooms, how many car garage they want, the different types of rooms, and it's the architect's job to put that all together. In this case, we started with what we would call a model home. Now, even though we've modified the design, whether it be the elevations or the floor plan slightly, we have a pretty good idea on what the size of the home is going to be, whether it's the square footage or the overall dimensions of about being 61 to 60 feet wide by about the same distance in length. The second most important part is what is the piece of property that we're going to put it on. Usually a client, if you're designing a building from scratch, will have a piece of property where they want to locate it. So one of the things that you're going to be working with is a survey. Now the surveyor can give you a hard print like this one. This is an older survey where it locates where north arrow is, where the address is, what the legal description of it is, and what the boundaries, where it's located, what street it's on. That type of information is extremely important. In addition to that, they may give you information regarding what the elevation is in terms of height off sea level of the road and some of the points of the existing house. Now in this case, we're going to be putting that house that we're modifying, which is this one, we're going to be putting it on that piece of property. So one of the first things we need to know is the zoning of that property, where they're going to allow a single family home or not, or what the setbacks are. How far from the neighbor's property do we need to be? How far from the street? How far from the waterway, which is in the back of this? Now notice here they have a scale, which is 1 inch is equal to 30 feet. So what we have to make sure is the house that we are going to be put on there is going to fit on the property once we find out all that information regarding setbacks, etc. I think one of the most important things to not do is start the drawing and start designing until you have that information regarding the property. This is what we would call due diligence. So what we have is we have an address for the property here at 2718 Northeast 17th Street, Fort Lauderdale, Florida. What we want to do is find out what zoning that represents in the city of Fort Lauderdale and what some of those restrictive requirements are. So the first thing we can do is we can go to Google, and what I've done is I've already gone to Google Maps. I typed in the address in here and it shows me where the property is in the city of Fort Lauderdale. As you can see, it's on a waterway here. If we zoom in a little bit, it shows you that it is in a residential area where we're going to be putting that house. We can switch it to satellite view, and you can tell that there's already going to be some construction on that property, but let's make the assumption that we are the ones that are going to be building. I'm going to switch it back, and knowing exactly where the location is in the city of Fort Lauderdale, what I need to do is to go to the website for the city of Fort Lauderdale, which I've done up here, and I've typed in city of Fort Lauderdale in my search, and what I'm going to do is go down to www.fortlauderdale.gov, and I'm going to try to navigate myself through this website to find out the zoning information that I need. So what I'm going to do is up in here, let's take a look at the different tabs. One of them is departments. Be nice if they just said zoning department, but they have it under sustainable development. We're going to left click there. We're going to zoom down a little bit more. We're going to go ahead to this tab, urban design and planning. And what we have is here's some information that we can go with. One of the tabs that we're going to go again to is property zoning and land use information. This should at least give us an idea of where we want to go. So let's click on that. The first thing we want to do is to find out what the zoning for that property is. So we need to locate it in our zoning map. They have a map gallery here. I prefer to use these tabs because the information is a little bit different. I'm going to snap to Map Gallery here, and I'm going to scroll all the way down. And the last map that they get right in here is a zoning map. So it's a PDF document. I'm going to open it up, left click it in here. I'm going to go ahead and zoom out a little bit and try to scroll to the area where I think that piece of property is going to be. Now I can increase my scale so I can come on in, and I'm going to move this over a little bit more this way. Let's increase a little bit more. I'm going to scroll down and back over, and it looks like Northeast 17th Street is located right here. I'm going to do the plus sign, get just a little bit closer onto there, and I'm going to try to center where our property is. There it is right in there. So what I'm going to be looking for is what is the zoning of where my property, which is located right here, is going to be. Now be careful, even though it says RM15, it's pointing to these two smaller areas. So I'm looking at this area right here, I can see that my zoning is RS-4.4. So now when I go to my zoning information, I can look up the code, the Unified Land Development Code, and find out what my restrictions are regarding whether I can actually build a single family home, or what the height is, what the setbacks are for it, what the maximum or minimum square footage is allowed to there. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and close out of this zoning code, or actually of that zoning map, and I am going to go close out of this one, and I'm going to go back to my property zoning and land use information tab here at the City of Fort Lauderdale, and I'm going to go from the map gallery where we just worked. I'm going to go to the Code of Ordinances. Now this is going to open up a thing called Muni Code, which actually has the zoning codes for many of the cities around the United States, and I'm going to try to find out what the requirements are for that zoning. So going here on the left to the table of contents, I'm going to find out here what my zoning is. So let's take a look at zoning district requirements right here, Article 2. Let's open that up and click on it. So when I look in here, it says residential, or right here, zoning districts established. So it gives us a listing. So RS 4.4 is residential single family low density. So it looks like that's going to work pretty good for us in terms of what we can use. So I'm going to go ahead and close that up. And let's close that up too right into there. And let's see what our requirements are going to be for here. So I am going to go ahead and I'm going to review this going down. Let's go ahead and open that up again. Let's open up districts. Let's open up residential zoning districts. Let's scroll down. List of permitted and conditional uses for RS 4.4. So let's go ahead and click on that. And let's see what the permitted uses are for this. So permitted uses are listed here on the left, such as single family dwelling, community residence, family community residence, and so on. So that looks like that's going to work pretty good for us. Let's go back one. And let's see what else we can look. List of permitted uses. List of permitted uses for us 4.4. We do it. The next thing we want to do is find out what our table of dimensional requirements are for RS-4.4 district note. So I'm going to click on that. And here it starts giving us additional information that we are definitely going to need to use in our design. The requirements is for RS 4.4, which is our zoning. The maximum density, that's where the 4.4 comes from, is 4.4 dwelling units per net acre. Minimum lot size is 10,000 square feet. So if we look at our survey, we've got 100 feet by 125 feet. It's a rectangular lot. So what we can say from that is that that is going to be 12,500 square feet, so we're good. Our house is a one-story house, so we don't really have to worry too much about a maximum structure height. We have to look at what the definition of height is, because that can vary. Maximum structural length, not applicable in here. Minimum lot width. We have a 100-foot lot. Now this says is 75 feet, so we're better than that, but we are abutting a waterway, and the requirement is 100 feet when abutting that waterway on any side. So we meet that requirement because the width of our lot is 100 feet. Minimum floor area, our square footage for the Marion is intended to be bigger than 1,250 square feet, so we're pretty good there. Minimum front yard, 25 feet, so we'll know we'll have to use that as our front setback. Minimum corner yard. We do not apply as a corner yard. A corner yard usually applies to one that has a road in two of the properties. Minimum side yard, 10 feet, up to 22 feet in height. Now, if we were to exceed 22 feet in height, we would have to probably increase that setback, but we know we're not going to be over 22 feet in height, so our side setbacks are going to be 10 feet. Now, it says 25 feet when abutting a waterway, but our side yards do not abut a waterway. And then minimum rear yard says 15 feet, but when abutting a waterway, our rear yard needs to be 25 feet. And that is going to be measured not just from your property line, but from what the city understands as the wet side of the seawall. So based on this information, there's some additional information here that could be relevant, but because of the small size of the house on the rather large lot, I think we really don't have too many problems in here. So based on this information, we know that our front setback is 25 feet, our rear setback is 25 feet, and our side yards or setbacks are going to be 10 feet. So what we can do is, let's go back to our survey in here, and let's look at some additional information that's here that may become relevant. If you notice, there's a tree table located right here, and it has some royal palm trees that I'm going to want to keep. So if you look at T1, T6, T7, and T10, those are royal palms which are designated here on the property. Now, most of the information on this survey has dimensions to it, but some of them do not have dimensions. So one of the problems that we have to have is we have to make sure that our survey that we received should be to 1 inch is equal to 30 feet. That can present a problem in the fact that this could have been an enlarged print that someone made, could have been reduced in size. We're not quite sure. So what we can do is we can establish, using our engineering scale and so on, whether the survey is within scale or not by putting our engineering scale at 1 inch is equal to 30 feet over known values in here, such as 100 feet. And if it comes out that it is correct, we can then use it to establish where those trees might be. In this case, we're going to use something a little bit different, since we're not going to be using our scale and we're not quite sure this is to scale. I'm going to start by drawing our property lines to the actual dimension, but in order to locate these trees where I want them located, I'm going to have to bring in my survey as an X reference, PDF, and then take a measurement from that. That means that I'm going to be scaling my survey when I do insert it. So let's go back to our drawing. And what we're going to do is we're going to start by drawing our property lines over in here. Now I am going to want to create a layer, and if you look at my markups here, you notice that I've already decided what layers and the line types and line weights I want for my property lines, setbacks, docks, etc. My property line, I'm going to create a layer called A-prop with a line type of Phantom 2, and for now a line weight of 2.5. So I'm going to go to my layer properties. I'm going to create a new layer and call it A-prop. I'm going to give it a red color. and my line type is going to be Phantom 2. I'm going to do OK. And my line weight, I'm just going to do default 0.25. Now I'm not too worried about that because I am going to be turning it into a polyline and give it a width. I'm going to make that my current layer. I'm going to draw it off to the side first. I'm going to start with lines. I'm not going to do it as a polyline at this point because I may want to explode it later on or do some modifications. So I'm going to go 100 feet, which is the width. 125 feet is the length. I'm going to go back 100 feet. And let's go back this way. 100 feet. And I'm going to close my property right in there. At this point, I'm going to go ahead and p-edit it. Select the polyline, yes, join, and I'm going to join them all at this point and give it a width of 2. Now that's going to give me a nice thick line weight so that when I bring in the site plan. Now one of the things that I want to make sure is that even though I got that information of 100 feet by 125 by 100 in this way, I have to also be cognizant of which way north is. Now we're going to be bringing in a north arrow symbol later on, but for now I'm going to go ahead and indicate with a line which direction is going to be north. I'll go ahead and give it a little line like that so it sort of represents an arrow, and I know that north is on the direction going up. That's going to become important because we're going to actually rotate this entire site to align it with the direction of the house that would be north, which is pointing down. So we'll be rotating this. Now at this point, what I can do, even though I made that a polyline edit, I'm going to go ahead and offset it 25 feet. Let me go to the offset command. 25 feet. And this was one of the reasons I wanted to explode it first. Now I'm going to go ahead and explode it. The offset. And I'm going to make sure that my rear setback here is set to, my front setback in this case is 25 feet. My rear setback is 25 feet, but these are supposed to be 10 feet. So I could use my stretch crossing this way, make sure my ortho is on, and go 15 feet this way, use the same stretch command this way, and go 15 feet this way. That will give me my two side setbacks here that I have. Now let's go back to the survey, and what we're going to do is we're actually going to be clearing the entire piece of property. So any of these interior lines that you see in here that represent the existing building or the pool or even the wood dock or seawall, we're going to redo all of that. So let's go ahead and let's go back to our drawing. I need to create an A-setback layer. So I'm going to go ahead and create a new layer, and I'm going to lay it out as A-STBK. I'm going to give that a yellow color and a hidden 2 layer. And the line weight I am going to want for that is going to be 0.15. So I'm going to close that up, and I'm going to turn on those. I'm going to select those layers and go to A-setback for that. Then I can zoom in, and I'm taking a look at my piece of property here. Now there's some other elements that I'm going to draw the dock back here before I rotate this to a line, but let's keep it as our survey is drawn to find out some additional information. Now one of the things that I can tell from this, and if I zoom in a little bit, what I can do right now is I don't know the exact distance from my property line to my center line. This is one of those instances where if it was printed to the proper scale, that I would be able to measure that. Now that is not good practice. What you want to do is always have those dimensions available. So this is where we're going to do something a little bit in terms of bringing in information so we can scale it properly. What I'm going to do is I'm going to go to the Insert tab, and I'm going to go to the References, and I'm going to go to Attach, and I'm going to go here down to Drawings. I'm going to go to PDFs, and I'm going to go ahead and look for my survey. Now, you will have this in the network drive that you have, but in my case, I have it here under, let's see where I would have it under, McFadder Drafting, and I would have it under Courses, Drafting Assistant. Let's open this up a little bit, and I would have it under Site Design under Handouts. Now I could select that Marion survey at this point. I'm going to open it up, and I'm just going to leave it on there right now the way it is, and I'm going to do OK. And it should be putting it into there. Let's see if I zoom out. All to see where it actually located that. Now that doesn't seem to have located it properly. Either that or I cannot locate it, so I'm going to undo and undo at this point. When I'm looking at my survey, I can tell that there are certain elements in the survey that do not have dimensions, whether it's the trees or the distance from my property line to the center of the street. So I need to find out how I can maybe scale this drawing or insert it in my drawing and make sure that I can take some measurements to that. If it was printed accurately at the scale of 1 inch is equal to 30 feet, I could use my engineering skill. What I can also do is I can insert the survey as an X reference, scale it to the proper size, and then take some general measurements to be able to complete my drawing. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go back to my drawing in here. I'm going to go to the Insert tab here, Reference Panel, and I'm going to go to Attach. I'm going to make sure that my type of drawing is going to be PDF file in here, and I'm going to find my Marion Survey PDF. I'm going to click on that. I'm going to do Open, and here I'm going to say Insertion Point. I'm going to specify on screen, and my scale I'm going to go ahead and specify on screen. I'm going to click OK, and I can now place my drawing there. I'm going to scale this up a little bit like this, and what I'm going to do is I'm also going to highlight it, and as far as draw order, I'm going to go ahead and send it to back. Now there are some known dimensions on here that I want to set up so that I can scale this to the proper height, so I can give myself a measurement from here to here or to the location of the trees. Now this information should be on the survey, but what I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and move this over to the side. I'm going to make sure I'm still on a property, and I'm going to go ahead and draw a line here from this edge of the property, and I've already drawn one, but I'm going to go ahead and redraw this on the side so I don't interrupt my drawing. So this would be the equivalent of 100 feet. So it means that my drawing right now, my survey, is too small and I need to scale it up. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to use the scale command. I'm going to select my PDF, and what I'm going to do is I'm going to specify a base point, which is the end of the line I just drew. I'm going to go to reference. So my reference dimension that I'm going to select is currently what is drawn to this point right here. But I want my new dimension to be to where the end of my line would be, and now my survey is drawn to the proper size. Now with that in mind, I could do a couple of things. I'm going to go ahead and delete the line for now. I could move my survey from this point directly over my property lines here, and those should line up. So now I could either take measurements in here, but since I have this drawn right now, I think close enough, I will be able to just go ahead, and I am going to change this to a layer pertinent to the trees. And I'm going to go back to my Home tab, Layer Properties. If you notice, when we brought in the blocks earlier, we should have an L site plan layer. I'm going to make that my current layer. And I'm going to draw some circles to indicate where those trees are going to be. So there's one of them. There's T6 located right here. There is T7, and I think I have one more. There is T10 right on the property line there. So I've got my trees located. Other parts of my survey that do not have any dimensions that I would assume would be necessary is going to be, let's see, we have our distance from our property line to the center line of the road. Now, as far as how wide the road is, that's taken care of by this note right in here. So I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to just do a measurement from here to here. And if you look at it, it's 30 feet right to that point. I'm going to go ahead and create a new layer. And let's see what I had designated as the layer name. Would be A-road-center with a line type center 2 and a line weight of 0.15. So I'm going to go ahead and create a layer. I'm going to call it A-road- let me see how I spelled center on that, or I abbreviated it, CNTR. So it's going to be capital C-N-T-R. And I am going to give it, let's see if we ask for a color. I think I left colors out because it wasn't that pertinent. So let's go ahead and let's just give it a gray color at this point. And center 2 line type. And a line weight of 0.15. I'm going to make it my current layer. Close it up. And in this case, I'm going to go ahead and, for accuracy, I'm going to go ahead and draw a line here. And I'm going to move it up to 30 feet. And let's see, it's located right in there. I'm going to go ahead and drag this side out a little bit and drag this side back into here. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and hide my PDF X reference. I'm going to go to Isolate and Hide Object. I'm going to take a look at what I have drawn so far. So I got my center line of road. I've got my property lines and my setback located in here. What I'm going to go ahead and draw is some additional items that we have. If we look at our survey again, it gives us the information that the width of the road is 25.5 feet. It's telling us that by what the width of the asphalt pavement is going to be. We're going to go ahead and we're going to put a new seawall cap here that's going to be 1 foot 6 inches wide, and we are going to add eventually some new trees in addition to the house that we're going to be adding to it. Let's take a look at what we're going to do. We're also going to do a dock in the back with dock piles. We're also going to have, let's see if there is any additional information. I think that's about it for now. So let's go ahead, and our road is A-road, line type continuous with a line weight 0.15. So if it's 25.5 wide, it's going to be, I'm going to use the offset command and type in 12.75 feet. Enter, and I'm going to offset to either side. Repeat offset. That direction and this direction. I'm going to escape. Let's try that again. Repeat offset. Enter, and I'm going to change these to an A-road layer. First I need to create that one. So I'm going to go ahead and create A-ROAD. Change the color so we can differentiate a little bit between them. Let's just go with a green like that. Line type for this is going to be continuous. But again, we're looking down on it so we can maintain the 0.15. Just do OK on that. Make it our current layer. Let's go ahead and change that to A-road. Located right into there. So we've got our road located. Now the area between your property line and the edge of the road is called a swale area. When we design our driveways, we're going to be able to build that driveway outside of our property line in order to connect to the street. Let's go ahead and let's go back down here, and let's start by creating a couple of layers. We're going to go back and take a look at our set in here. We're going to do an A-dock layer. We're also going to do an A-dock pile layer and an A-dock hatch layer, a seawall cap layer, A-SWLL-cap. They're all pretty much the same line weight on that. So let's go ahead and let's go back to our drawing and let's create some layers. First one that we're going to do is going to be A-SWLL-CAP. And if you look, I'm going to do an underscore underneath it because it still needs to maintain its 4 characters. I'm going to change the color on that one. I'm going to change it to, and again, you have your choice of colors that you may want to use. Let's use that color. Continuous line type is correct, as well as is my line weight. Next one I'm going to create is an A-dock. I'm going to change the color on that. Let's go with a color like that for now. Continuous line type and 0.15 line weight is correct. Create another one in here. We're going to call that one A-dock-PILE for the pilings. I'm going to change the color on that slightly. Let's go with 33. Continuous 0.15 is correct. And then the last one I'm going to do is I'm going to do an A-dock-HTCH for hatch. And I'm going to make that a different color. This time the line weight is going to be 00. It's going to have so many lines that I'm not going to want that to be overpowering. So if we take a look at what we've done, is I'm not going to go ahead and start drawing those because those are additions to what we want, and I want to take a look at how the piece of property relates to the size. So the one thing I am going to do is I am going to go ahead and draw the seawall cap at the back, but I'm not going to put the dock on it yet until I find out what my best views are outside of the house, so I can keep an eye on the boat, and maybe I can use the boat as sort of a focal point from the living area. First thing I could do is I could just easily rotate this. Again, if you take a look at our road is up in here, but our house, the garage, is located down here. We're sort of going to play God here, where we're going to rotate the earth so that the roadway is on the south. Typically, when you draw a building, you're going to have the front door and the entryways to the south. Our surveys usually have it true north, which means it would be pointing north. In this case, we need to rotate it so that our house will be aligned correctly with the property. So I'm going to go ahead and go to the rotate command. Click on here. I know I need to rotate it 180 degrees. Type in 180, and I've got that located now. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and I am going to start moving this site. I'm going to bring my north arrow, which you see now is pointing down, which will align to the where north is in relationship to the way that our house is facing. I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to move my property line setbacks and the other information over to where we have this house located. One of the things we always, at least in the majority of cases with these lots, is we will try to move the house as far forward on the property as possible, so we end up with the biggest rear yard in the back. So I'm going to select Move command, select everything that I've drawn. I'm going to go ahead and move my property line to the wall outside. Now notice I did not click to the setback, to the overhang of the roof. The overhang is allowed to come somewhat into the property line, as long as it's not too long. Each code, each city will have its different restrictions. So what I now want to do is I want to center my house on my lot. Some cases you want a bigger side yard on one side than the other, but in this case what I'm going to do is I'm going to find my midpoint of my lot, and I don't care what layer I'm on because I'm going to delete that, and I'm going to find the midpoint of my house. So I am again going to draw a line, and this time it's going to be from mid between 2 points, so I could do it from here to here and locate it there. So I'm going to do move previous, and notice everything is selected again that I had before. So what I want to do is I want to move everything I had selected before from this location, which is the center of the property, to align with the center of the house. So I am going to go ahead and go from here to here, and I should have now, go ahead and delete my guidelines, and my house is located where I want it. I've got the biggest backyard I can based on the dimensions of my house. I've got even side yards on both sides, and I can begin to design my property located in here, including my driveways. Now, I've wanted to keep these trees, so my driveway design is going to have to work itself around these trees. These are royal palm trees, very, very expensive. And what I'm going to go ahead now, and for this lesson plan, I'm going to go ahead and finish the dock in the back and the seawall cap in there. So I'm going to go ahead and go to my seawall. Let's see what we have. Cap located in there. Go ahead and draw a line from here to here. And I said it was going to be 1 foot 6 inches, and I'm going to have it straddle my rear property line. So it's going to be 9 inches up and 9 inches down. So I'm going to go ahead and offset 9 inches and down. I'm going to delete that line, and I'm going to go ahead and grab them, and I'm going to extend them just a little bit beyond my property line to indicate that it's a continuous seawall that goes beyond our properties. Let's go ahead and make these about even. I'll bring that one in a little bit like that. So there's our seawall. What I want to do is, before I continue with this, there's our north arrow, and start designing my driveways and my pool and my dock. I'm going to find out a little bit more about what my pool design is going to be before I finish that dock, as I mentioned before.